Hello. So I'm doing a live video. Oh, you can really, I have like a sun spot or skin spot right there on the tip of my eyebrow. It popped up about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's actually in the shape of a heart. It's weird. I've been looking at them on other people in my life, like my older family members, my entire life, so I thought it was pretty funny when I had one pop up right there. Anyways, so it is Sunday. I'm about to do classes today. I am working every day on my therapy skills on both sides of them. My own therapy, like I was actually just talking to somebody about immersion therapy and suggesting it for them, that if they have sensory issues and stuff, that because over time, like if you have sensory issues, and there's a lot of disorders that cause sensory issues, it can be beneficial also if you're the type of person who has sought therapy for it, sensitivity issues, then immersion therapy is a thing, like, for you. It's a big thing. Like I said, if you've sought help for sensitivity issues, what you're looking for pretty much is immersion therapy. And it's pretty amazing how, like, I was explaining to him, I was like, because the thing is like, you don't want to feel out of control. Humans don't like feeling out of control, because not only are we in control of our perceptive, we have one perception, you're one person. Not only that, but like, in the world we live in, like, there's a difference between being a child and adult. You have stuff you have to do, you have stuff you have to take care of, like, you have responsibilities. And so, everybody wants to do and live their life, without problems. So if you've got some kind of medical situation happening, like, sensitivity issues and stuff, and that can come out in a mental illness, or that can be something you deal with because of a neurological situation, or anything, like, just people deal. But what you're looking for is immersion therapy, and it is something that, like, it works, and it is a whole thing, like, it is a process. There's different ways that you can, like, there's different types of therapy, like different ways you can do the immersion therapy, but like, man, my eyes look, okay. I have a little bit of a lazy eye, and every now and then it looks a little worse than it does at other times, but it could also just be the fact that I don't have glasses on, and like the direction of the camera being pointed at me. Anyways, so something as simple like, sometimes people, like, a situation is like showering. Say if there's been some people that have issues with, like, the water hitting them and stuff, versus like taking a bath or something. If you're having neurological symptoms, like, and you get in the shower and you start, like, hallucinating or something, or forgetting where you are or something like that, you need to go to the doctor. But if it's just a matter of like, I really don't like that stimulation, like I really, and it's painful, it makes you flip out, like all kind of different things. The best way to do it is like, or the best way to deal with that is immersion therapy, is like, but the thing is, since it's a control issue, the best way you can deal with it is like, setting it up, like making sure you are as in control as possible, before you immerse yourself in the situation. The example we're using is showering. So, like spend time, being like if you don't live alone, designate times, like if you're an adult and you got kids and all this, lots of life, take a shower at night, like work on it. You have to be in a situation where you are, in the beginning at least, completely in control in the environment. So, like at night would be a situation where there's low stimulation like everywhere else. So, wait till everybody goes to bed. Set everything up, make sure you got everything you need, your towel, your soaps and stuff, like if your phone, like if you have a favorite stuffed animal, or for some, most people like a candle, even if you don't light it, just set it there. Like those kind of things make everything sure is tidied out, and experience it, and you do that over a period of time, and then when you're doing those times where you have full control over everything, also like after we'll say a week or a couple weeks, add in times where you take one in the morning, or jump in there and see how it is. And the biggest thing with immersion therapy is encountering those stimulations and stuff and acknowledging it, counting the seconds, the moment, not acting on it, not giving over to going down those neurological pathways that you normally do, whatever it is, whether you, have Tourette's and have like movement disorders, or, and something like that would cause you to like, or if you have, anger issues with, or like, about to go through a divorce, or going through the end of a relationship with somebody, and so there's a couple different situations that cause all different kinds of repeated actions and stuff, or it could just make you upset and break down and cry and stuff, but as much as we have positive moments in life, we also have negative moments in life, like overstimulation, and to be honest with you, at the end of the day, as a human, the things that we perceive as positive and negative, a lot of times, when it comes to stimulation, can be the same, like it is stimulation. So, with the chance of, experiencing like profound or extreme joy, is also, we also have the ability to experience extreme and profound sorrow and grief and stress. And so, one, we obviously know that joy is a gift, and positive emotions and feelings, but also the negative emotions that make us act out or, give our mind and planning, daily planning, a run for its money, those kind of things, troubles, are also a huge gift and blessing in life. So, the basis for therapy on that kind of situation, the most healthy way to look at something like that and to encounter it, incorporate it into your life, because it's not going anywhere. Like, if you're sensitive, you're sensitive, in whatever form, So, if you see a pattern, you see a pattern. The biggest thing you have to keep in mind and to work on is, accepting it and incorporating it into your life. Just like any kind of disability. Wherever you wake up and you realize that, like, oh, this is a thing or an issue, or like a thing. Things or issues. So, I would tell the same thing to somebody who just had their arm blown off, overseas or something, as we say in America. That's the same kind of situation that, that's the same type of information that you would give to a person in that kind of situation. That can be really a big gift to someone who really doesn't know and hasn't ever worked with immersion. It really is the end-all be-all when it comes to, first thing you have to do is more of like work, like recognize and talk through, because you have to have the, ooh, you have to, that's so weird. Anyways, you have to have the ability to, be able to work through something, to cooperate within the immersion therapy and stuff and follow the steps in order, for it to work and stuff. And so before that, like I was talking to somebody who has complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and this prolonged post-traumatic stress disorder. I know someone personally who has that, actually, on top of a couple other disorders and stuff. And that is like, if you have like ADHD and complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and those two things really do go hand in hand, then it's harder for someone like that to stop what they're doing and work through it, because they've managed and gained a level of work, and like the way they live their life and stuff. So in fact, it can almost be even more disabling for somebody who has like CPTSD or ADHD to do, or like with stimulation, that issue, than it is for somebody who has like Tourette's or just had their arm blown off overseas, because for those people it is their whole life. For somebody who has ADHD or complex post-traumatic stress disorder, they are in the middle of their life. They are in the middle of functioning and holding 12 plates at a time, so, but like sometimes like it's absolutely 100% necessary to take yourself, step back a moment, and figure out how to do it. And only you can decide like how important that is to you, or it's, if you recognizing the symptoms, then it's needed. It's not a matter of like, oh, do I need this or not? But it's also a therapy session, like it's a therapy program or situation. So it's not easy, and it's also it's complex. I explained to someone, I was like, when I have, after working through it, and recognizing, like, been in situations where I recognize that I'm like, okay, I'm about to be like hit with some stimulation that is like gonna be over the top for me, and whether I'm standing or I'm sitting or mid-step, it definitely at times has been like a going through a waterfall, like in a boat, like the system definitely doesn't still recognizes it, like the stimulation and stuff, like it's not fun. But if you get there, if you go through the waterfall, like if you have that experience, it's working and you're almost there, like it's almost done. You have to just keep doing it. And like I have had to do this and reroute my the way like my mind works and stuff for situations like the narcolepsy, because I have all the symptoms of the narcolepsy, and one of the situations that comes up with narcolepsy is hallucinations, and the hallucinations, they happen when I'm asleep, when I'm going to sleep, and also when I'm waking up. I can, after that, like after that experience, like my brain chemicals can be kind of weird. And so the best way to fix a brain chemical situation, because when it boils down to it, is a symptom of like depression, like that the hallucination within the narcolepsy and stuff is like, it's a brain chemical thing. It doesn't just go away, like, but it's behavioral and it's brain chemical. So it doesn't just go away if you, by putting, like, you can't sleep with caffeine, like, it's like my lazy eye situation going on. That's exactly what it is. And when you've got a situation to where like your brain chemicals are being, they are prone to bottoming out. Like, the thing is though, if it's going like this, it can flatline. And that kind of action is what caused my seizures. And, the seizures were happening right as I was waking up, like right as I was. So I had to practice, and I've been doing it, for 2 years. Like, I changed my environments. My mom got me a new bed in December. I have physical symptoms like sweating and stuff, like a dump sweat, and that's a stress response. Like, that is my body being like, what the fuck? Because I know what's happening. Like, my brain chemicals are bottoming out and coming back up really quickly. Because when you wake up, like, there's stimulation, and the stimulation is almost like a hand on your back, at all times. Or like a stimulation is like, if you've ever seen the figure of like a horse with a stick over its head, and the stick's like strapped to it, and there's a carrot in front of it. And so the horse like keeps moving because it's going after the carrot, and stimulation, it creates like a reward motivation, which keeps your dopamine and your levels and stuff like that higher. So if you're doing something, no matter what you're doing, your brain chemicals are going to be more balanced and stuff from doing, this than if you are in like a deprivation tank or asleep. So yeah. But like, I woke up today. I took a Benadryl before I went to sleep last night because my ears are swollen again a little bit. I'm wondering exactly how allergic to cats I am. I'll be able to tell in a couple weeks and stuff. Like, I just am hoping it's not as bad as my body is making me feel like it. It also could be like just this time of year, I'm not really sure, but I'm like, sure enough, just being around someone who has cats is not going to give me allergies, but it might. So, which is terrible. But yeah, the Benadryl isn't doing anything. I woke up today with worse like inflammatory response with my ears and stuff than I had yesterday. So, but it might also just be a matter because like my immune system is not the best after the like really intense neurological situations and stuff. Also, I have like slight anemia now, so like that is kind of the same thing as having a crappy immune system. So that's where I am with that. But yeah, I like I said, I was just been kind of like looking around my therapy type situations, or not therapy type situations. I've been discussing therapy stuff today. Woke up feeling like shit. I woke up weepy. Still not anywhere as bad as, like when I had the intellectual issues and was dealing with that at the same time, because now I can get up and do something about it, to where before is like someone stole my arm, or both of my arms, and left me here. So that was pretty bad. But now that I have my arms back, like, they will never work completely, perfectly and stuff. But like, so I woke up sad because I have a disability, and it makes me sad. It's hard, for many different reasons. It's hard to deal with. It's also difficult because, like, I don't, like, because of the nature of it and because of how public does and stuff like that, like, in all the thousands upon thousands of people that say that they have autism and they don't, it's the whole racist thing. Like, people being like, I'm a black person. I'm like, no, you're not, like, but at the same time, like this morning, like, because I was dealing with the sadness, I had to, try to think of a different way to think about stuff. And I was like, there is a situation to where, like, even though it's really ass backwards, it is, at least, I can see the word autism and go into those groups and talk to people. The thing is that nobody in there realizes that, like, all the social parts of it, like, someone did at one point, and then all these people say they have autism and recognize it, and then, like, so they is trying to, like, compensate and, like, make someone not feel so alone, and by doing that, you know, they've singled me out even more. And there isn't really anything I can do about that but continue to do my work and to continue to talk about it and stuff, because, like, you know, that is the nature of it too. It's like, I can't, like, you know, like, I can offer information stuff, you know, and stuff like that, but, like, literally ADHD is a part of autism spectrum disorder. Like, not fully, of course, because you can't have both, but, like, it just, like, you know, if you have ADHD, you're going to relate to somebody who has autism. If you have autism, it's going to be a little harder. You can relate to somebody who has ADHD, but in, like, a metaphysical way. It's not literal. You know, of course, you're going to relate to their issues, their mental illnesses, but just the ADHD part, you're not going to relate to, because ASD is the opposite of ADHD. Like, literally, it is the opposite when it comes to behavior. Now, both of them, the thing is that if you have ADHD and you have a mental disorder, a person with ASD is always going to be able to talk to you about that, because they naturally work through those things and experience all of them. But a person with ASD is outside of a diagnosis, because there's the main parts of it they don't have. Like, I was talking to someone about bipolar, and, like, I've never had, you know, mania. Like, I have a full, you know, personality. Like, I've had a full life. You know, been an adult since, like, you know, I was a teenager and stuff, like, managing my own life and stuff like that. I've encountered all kind of issues. I've encountered all kind of situations where I've had to stand up for myself. I've, you know, encountered problems constantly, you know, and constantly having to work through stuff. It's really, you know, life is complicated for me. But I have never showed any kind of symptoms while I was functioning for bipolar disorder. Now, when I have my seizures, like, when I went into status epilepticus, you know, I definitely told the doctor when I was completely out of it that I was experiencing psychotic depression. And I wasn't wrong. Like, I didn't have any kind of symptoms of psychotic depression. I went nonverbal. And so I knew inherently that if I was experiencing what I did, no matter what the behavior output was, even, you know, seizures and stuff, that, you know, because it was non-convulsive, that the reason why is because my brain chemicals were all. So, and psychotic depression is at the bottom of the bucket, you know, and so I was right, but it should, you know, I just was, like, so terrified, and I still, like, you can kind of hear it in my voice when I say seizure. Like, it's not easy for me to express that, but for me, that is the bottom of the bucket. Like, if I start having seizures and stuff, and like back to back to back, what happens is it puts me in the, to where I can't tell what's going on, like, what's real or not. But the thing is not only do I not have ADHD, I'm immune to it, so I can function in that state. So, like, because there's some things that are, like, kind of detached, because I have ASD. So, I can speak. I can't talk, but I can speak in that state. So I was able to direct my... and sure enough, even though I told them I had psychotic depression, the treatment for that and with emergency room and stuff like that was, as many Klonopins as I wanted in order, so, the treatment for psychotic depression is not Klonopin. They got what I was saying. They could look at me and see. Because, like, when you're having, like, I was deer in headlights, and I wasn't responsive, like, I was half there, but I know what it looks like, so if someone is, like, doing this and you're not, like, like I'm moving my head and moving and stuff, like, if all that stops and you have certain looks on your face, and it's like, they can tell. So, it's a situation where, like, if you're not disabled and you're walking around looking like that, then, like, there's something wrong, and also if you go to the emergency room during that, like, so they knew by that little bit of communication to put me back, and that's what they did. They treated me as if I was having seizures. So I was right. They were right. Of course, then I got some people, they're like, you're not having seizures. I'm like, if somebody is stuck, like, non-convulsive status epilepticus is definitely a thing. Like, it's actually pretty rare. Like everything I deal with is. But, like, it's completely understandable. Like, so that is interesting. Luckily, but that's the thing with, like, all these medical situations, and it's like all of this kind of stuff is kind of logicked out and fits together, like all the medical stuff. So, like, it really, at the end of the day, like, doesn't matter, I don't know. It does matter what you say, like, but that's the thing, it's like, I could not say, psychotic depression, and, but the thing is normally, people who are in status epilepticus can't talk. So, that is definitely ASD. Status epilepticus is non-convulsant, is deer in headlights, like you were frozen in yourself, and it doesn't come back automatically. Like, it doesn't just give you medication, because that time that you're in it is time you also have to spend, like, to conceptualizing. Not only do you have to conceptualize what just happened to you, but in all the mechanics and how that fits into your life and stuff, but you also have to figure out what you just all saw in front of your face, like what all just happened, what was just said to you, and you couldn't understand because you're also in a state you've never been in before, and so it's new, you're also missing out on a whole lot, and it's disorienting. So you have to, so if you're in status epilepticus for a day, you might spend several weeks if not longer, 2 months or something, coming back, and I was in that state for like off and on, for about a month, and then was going into that for about 6 months before. So it took me almost 2 years to completely, it took me about 4 or 5 months to get back to where I was functioning and could then also go to the next level of processing, all that kind of stuff. So it took me like 2 years, to completely heal from that. And, I don't have an epilepsy diagnosis because I'm prone to epilepsy. Like I was having, like if I ever get to the point where, like my pancreas, gives out, I will be prone to, I have to watch out for like epilepsy. So like, there's a bunch of different situations like that could cause me to go back into that state, and that state was caused by mismanaging mispregnancies, which affect your hormonal system and stuff like that. So yeah, that is what happened for me. So I will never have another situation like that, and I've tested it in the past 6 months as a fully healed person, and I'm not having seizures or anything. I've had some cataplexy episodes under high stress, but I'm not having seizures. So, like, or any kind of, I have, what is the word? Physical parts of them, but the mental part, like going back into, like a dead place, status epilepticus, that kind of thing is like, and in a situation, like, it's not a thing. Like, I have the vibration in my stomach, I have, the, dilating pupils and stuff like that, and I've had those kind of things, like some of those, I forget the word, situations for, a long time, but those are completely different, and those are parts of seizures. Like, technically, my brain is doing things like this, but what I don't want to do is my conscious level attach on to that. And that is where I went in and was like, I have psychotic depression because I can't function. I should be able to function when I'm having, if I have seizures and stuff. It shouldn't be taking my mind out with it. So, and I was right, even in my, the state of not being able to, like, have a conversation. I was completely nonverbal, and I couldn't communicate because I couldn't reason. I could do the math. Like, I can literally out in front of me be like, and work out the math of that. And I was right, and that is because I do not have an intellectual disability. All that stuff is programmed in there. So, your life and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. But that doesn't make it any easier for, me to deal with, in a situation like I'm in right now. So I do still have some pain issues and stuff. I'm okay, but like, it's not easy. So I have to get up and do things and take care of stuff. Gotta do my schoolwork, move on you know, is what I mean. Like, move on with my day and sitting here watching my screensaver. There's is the Roku screensaver. It was Wicked and The Road, and yeah, like their little houses set up and stuff in a field and witches in the air and their houses. But now it's back to the normal like city landscape with the cars going down the road. So I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their weekend and their Sunday. I think today is January 11th, if I'm not mistaken.